Big time. No man now. Diamonds in my teeth. I got a lot of shine.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are back for a very special Friday morning. It is Black Friday in the US of A. Brandon Adam. And we're here to talk about the slate. A little bit more casual. This was a last-minute impromptu show because, Brandon, you're on the show. How the hell are you doing, brother? Did you have a nice Thanksgiving yesterday?
Oh, what a great Thanksgiving indeed. It was a phenomenal Thanksgiving. Had a great family, was over at the in-laws, had great food. My mom's mother cooked, and it was amazing. Yeah, totally enjoyed it. Bet some football and hit some big bets, and it's been good, man.
Your single best day ever in your betting career. Congratulations.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, we hit for 15 grand yesterday. Could have been more. I cashed out like a baby on one of them, but lesson learned.
The thing is, though, if the Chicago Bears, Brandon, were a competent offense and
I know it would have hit the over,
you probably would have busted, right? So, like, the chance of that actually happening was very slim. You probably made the right choice. You're conservative, but I'm generally a conservative person. For those of you who listen to our program,
that's the first time I've been conservative in a while.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. So yeah, ladies and gentlemen, obviously, typically we come here and talk about our flex plays and just sleepers that we like to talk about. So we'll definitely hit on some of those players today. But it's a little bit more casual of a show. We're going to talk through the slate a little bit. I want to go through some of Brandon's bets, as of course every morning we get the text with all of Brandon's bets. So some of these parlays I want to chat through, and maybe just because obviously, like, a lot of the people who listen to this program are on the DFS Army VIP members. They listen to both our channel as well as the main DFS Army channel. For those of you who are new to this channel, which we got a few new subscriptions last week, thank you for joining us. We are typically a fantasy football season-long focus and dynasty focus. So we don't talk a lot of betting or DFS on this particular program. However, Brandon, I feel like we would be doing the people a disservice if we didn't talk about some of your bets, because you have been so successful this season. And one of the things we were talking about, in the best ball streets, we talk about better in best ball than season long, right? These guys who are unpredictable because they've got their ADOTs but low reception props every single week. So you hit on a reverse correlation play last week, and I just think it's an interesting topic. So let's talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, so I've been kind of diving in kind of head first into prop betting this year, a lot heavier than what I've been doing in the past. And I've been, beating down the streets of Twitter, finding some really good follows and finding some really good people to kind of see their philosophies and see how these guys bet, how these pros really bet. And what I really started liking is those reverse correlation plays where, like last week, I had Nick Westbrook
Akine, yeah.
Nick Westbrook Akine. I had him for under 2.5 catches, but over 60 yards. And then I paired it with Rashad Bateman, another guy, for under 2.5 and over 50 yards or something like that. And the reason I did that is because Will Levis is a deep ball quarterback that when he hits big, it's mainly on the deep ball. And in that game script with Houston last week, I figured they would have to be chasing. And if they were leading, that's good. That means they're hitting explosive plays. And Nick Westbrook Akine has been their most explosive player on the regular. He's actually scored 6 of 7 of the last games each week. He hits his his yardage prop at a ridiculous rate too, and he does it with really few receptions. And so same thing with Rashad Bateman. He has that kind of same profile with Lamar. Lamar has that same profile deep down the field where he takes big shots, but he doesn't hit he hits about 50% of them. So if you can catch Rashad Bateman on the right day, you can you can catch his under and his over yardage, that's going to pay you crazy money. Like what paid me out, it was like $50 for, I don't know, $4,500 or something like that, or something like $25 or $4,500, something like that. That's the kind of bets you can get into with these reverse correlation plays, and guys I really like to do it with is running backs as well. Joe Mixon is another guy that I love using. Jahmyr Gibbs, high explosive player, doesn't get past the ball enough, but he always hits his over on his yardage. Swift is another guy. Caleb isn't, when he hits big plays out of the backfield, Swift has 20, 30 yards when he does it. So on any given week, he's going to smash his yardage on the receptions for Swift. But sometimes he doesn't get it a lot. So that's why you can bet those unders and hit those sometimes and be able to pair them. A similar guy today, like I have a pairing today, right now for today, Black Friday special right here. Black Friday special is Xavier Worthy under 2.5 catches, over 50 yards. And if you want, you can get spicy and add the touchdown because it might be for the big touchdown play down the sideline and him making a big play. And then also Noah Gray under 2.5 catches and over 20 yards. That's another reverse correlation that is paying out pretty decent as well. So you can pair them up if you would like. Good money for a small bet if you want to make it.
Yeah, so for that one, I'm looking at it right now. For a $25 wager, the payout is $4,600.
Yeah.
Another one, and this one I think kind of ties into your reverse correlation that we were just talking about. So
yeah,
again, ladies and gentlemen, this is just something that Brandon does. We don't condone these bets.
Like these are, like I take swings, and like that's the way I play. Like I've taken how I used to play DFS, in where I would have ammo, right? And I would put out 30, 40 lineups, right? And hopefully 5 or 6 get you into good money that get you profitable and all that stuff. And with this as well, with betting, you can do the same kind of approach where I make, 30 prop bets a week, ranging from crazy long odds to my other one I hit yesterday was plus 770. I had Jahmyr Gibbs over 50 rush yards. I had Tucker Kraft over 31 yards. I had DJ Moore over 57 yards, and I had Neighbors over 60. And I put $1,000 on that, and I made $8,500. Like that's the kind of stuff you do when you can get bankroll. You can minimize your odds and still make huge money. You just got to have the stones to bet it. But with those bets, though, if you look at those bets are better than 70% on all of them. Especially with Tucker Kraft was the most dicey, but because of the fact that Dobbs is the number 1 wide receiver possession receiver, he was out. Those third downs were up for grabs. Tucker Kraft is a third down monster for Love, and he proved out to being exactly that yesterday.
Okay, we're gonna give people one more, then we're gonna start talking about the slate, okay? Because this one is interesting to me. So this one is plus 18,000, 18,528 to be specific. So this is, we're talking about threading the needle just so to win this cash. So on a $50 bet, it pays out $9,300. So it's Joe Mixon under 3.5 receptions, Joe Mixon anytime touchdown score, and Joe Mixon over 21.5 receiving yards. And then you've also got Tank Dell over 70 yards, Tank Dell under 4.5 receptions, and anytime touchdown score, Tank Dell.
Yes.
So essentially, you're banking on those explosive plays in this particular one. And so again, this is an extremely low probability, but if it hits, you're making a ton of money. So this is just like a lottery ticket type play, but it's still
put $5 on it and have fun. Exactly. That's the kind of stuff that's where I started. I wasn't originally putting $50 on these bets. It's because I built out my bankroll to be able to do that. But now, like when you start betting, when you can hit on those things, man, it's next level money. Like that's what it's all about. And that's what these high end players are doing. And I'm just kind of like almost mimicking and learning with them throughout the year and trying to figure out their philosophies. And that's the philosophy I'm going with. And I also took, fantasy football knowledge that we know along the way with it. And it's been quite a force this year for me. I lose my fair share. Trust me, I lose my fair share. And when I lose, it's not for pennies, it's for, good money. And so that I've taken it on the chin, but it's part of the learning process. Go to college, bro. Like that's pretty much what I'm kind of figuring it out. And I've been hitting on those. And shout out Blitzer Sports, man. Yesterday, I can't take any ownership of that Laporta one. That was not mine. That Laporta 2-time anytime touchdown was amazing. I saw that on X from a guy I follow, and I followed that, and that one hit, and that was an amazing play. So let's get after it, but let's talk some fantasy here.
Happy Thanksgiving to you as well, Jen.
Yeah,
man. Let's get into like some of our plays of the week.
He's my best friend. He's my pal. He's my homeboy, my rotten soldier. He's my sweet cheese, my good time boy.
Well, Brandon, today we're a little bit more casual. However, there are some players that we do want to talk about. And the first player that you mentioned for the show today is one Bucky Irving. And this one is particularly interesting to me because we're starting to see a bit of a shift where Bucky is really taking over that backfield. And Rashad's really becoming more so the passing down back type player. So what do you like about Bucky this week going up against Carolina?
Well, Carolina's dead last against the rush. Okay. And Bucky is just special. Like if you followed us throughout the summer with Flex Matt, Matt and I both really liked Bucky Irving. I think Matt liked him a little bit more than me, but we both had him in our top 5 running backs pre-draft and pre-everything. So Bucky Irving, though, this kid is getting the rock. He is explosive. He's getting deep runs on the regular. And when you can stack that up, and with him stealing the snap share away from Rachaad White, and Rachaad White, what was the big thing that we all said about Rachaad White this summer? It was, man, he was productive last year, but he was so inefficient, right?
Inefficient, that's right. Yeah.
Just the inefficiency was so bad last year with Rachaad White rushing the ball. I gave him an excuse a little bit. I thought the line was pretty terrible last year, so I kind of gave him an excuse on the efficiency metric a little bit. I thought he'd be okay, but with Bucky going there, I knew Bucky. It was almost, Bucky is that kind of guy where he has that prospect and that profile where he can be a 3-down back and be able to take some of this away, and that's exactly what's happening. So I think this kid is going to he's going to easily get in the end zone. I actually think Rashad Bateman has a real good chance of getting in the end zone as well this week, even though RW, we liked him prior to that. And Carolina has proven that they stay in games. I think Chuba Hubbard is a superstar. Like, this guy is so good. It's actually kind of crazy that they got, I think it's going to end up being a mimic of David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs next year for the Carolina Panthers with this setup of Chuba and Jonathan Brooks. If they can get a trigger man like Bryce Young to get going, like they got Jared Goff going in that offense, and they get more successful. It seems like their tempo is a lot higher now. They are never out of games and they stay in it. So I fully expect the Bucks to really have to keep pedal on the metal. And Bucky Irving is so hot. This coaching staff has said repeatedly that they're running with the hot hand, and they absolutely are. And Bucky is the hot hand. Just continue it. Love it. He was just a little bit hindered with that turf toe he had there for a second. And now it seems like he's moving past that little toe injury he had.
Yeah. And listen, like Tampa Bay right now in general, like they're surging, right? They have a chance to win the NFC South just by lieu of they've been playing well. They've been getting healthy. Mike Evans is back, obviously. I think that, listen, if you have Rachaad White, and I do have him across a lot of my leagues, which was great last year, not so great this year. He's somebody that I'm totally comfortable playing this week as well, Brandon. And even in DFS, when you look at the ownerships, because I'm looking at the matchup tool over at dfsarmy.com, the ownership percentage is relatively low, right? So you've got on DraftKings, which is obviously the full PPR site, you've got about 9.7% ownership projected for Bucky and only 5% for Rachaad White. So if you do want to get a little bit more contrarian, if you are going to bake into the fact that obviously on the season, it's been 60-40 in favor of Rachaad. The last few weeks, it's almost been a clean 50-50. Last week, we actually saw a higher snap share from Bucky than we did for Rachaad.
And he got a lot of work through the air too.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and that's the thing too, right? Like everybody points to Rachaad White as being a stud through the air. I was looking at it this morning. Like Bucky Irving, I think had 53 receptions in his last year in college. So the guy has hands as well. They're both
he's a monster. He's better
yeah.
than Rachaad White. Yeah, he's better. He's a monster.
I think Rachaad is a beast in the passing game. I don't know. I'm still not sold to say he's better, but last week Bucky had a 20% pass target share. So
dude,
that's elite for a running back.
That's going to continue. Everybody was looking for that Devon Achane guy, right? Everybody likes this is it. Bucky Irving is it. The Bucks with Chris Godwin going down. Yeah. Dude, no. With Chris Godwin going down, the good thing about it is that Baker loves to check it down to running backs. He really is one of those quarterbacks that knows how to dice people up at the running back position. And he loves throwing those angle routes, those arrow routes. Like he really knows how to thread the football. And so I'm telling you, they need to get production through the air somewhere. So they have enough room in the playbook and the amount of plays they get per game to get both Rachaad White, probably 4 catches usually, and then they can get Bucky at least the same. They just have to curtail Sean Tucker a little bit if they want to do that. But Sean Tucker in his own right, wow, like that guy is super explosive himself. So wow, shout out Flex Matt on that one. We've always known the kid was explosive. He had a heart issue. Matt was screaming that from the rooftops. He thought Tucker would take the RB2 position this year, but it ended up being Bucky. But Bucky, this line and this offense really knows how to get high production out of the running back position, man. Yeah,
and even like, listen, Cade Otton, since Chris Godwin's gone down, has been every week starter. Like, shout out to Clipboard Jesus on that one, right? Like he was screaming from the rafters that this kid was going to be special. And so, yeah, I mean, right now Tampa is marching, and I think what's really important here is the fact that the Carolina Panthers were able to keep up with the Chiefs last week and put up points. It just means that there's going to be a lot of points scored in this game, right? So you look at the overall implied team totals. You got Tampa Bay at 26 and Carolina at 20. So this is going to be a high-scoring game.
Hell yeah!
It's going to be productive, and all of a sudden, it's like the NFC South is kind of fun, right? Like it's kind of filthy, but it's kind of fun to watch.
Yeah,
so I like to see that.
And Chuba, I mean, Chuba is a league winner on the rest of the way out. Please don't worry about Jonathan Brooks in any way for the rest of the year. Brooks is not going to have anywhere near a real role for at least another 2 to 3 weeks again. And by that time, Chuba is so established. There's no reason to do it. They just paid Chuba. Save Brooks, keep him healthy for next year. The kid's explosive. He'll be successful. It's just going to be a little bit. You got to wait on him. Hell of a dynasty go get him in dynasty if you are a rebuilder and a contender got Jonathan Brooks at the end of the first last year. You can go target that owner, go get Jonathan Brooks, and go sell a veteran for Jonathan Brooks. That's a good buy right now.
Yeah, I think that's a great buy. I mean, so you and I actually had an interesting trade a few weeks back in one of our leagues where I'm in rebuild mode. Actually, this was a new draft this year. I chose a productive struggle. I went and I traded a bunch of draft picks. I got a bunch of first rounders next year, and you're in it to win it this year. So we made an interesting little trade, and I think it's still fair. I mean, it was. Yeah. I was a little bit reluctant because what it was I received Amon-Ra from you, and you got Chuba Hubbard, George Pickens, and a second. So it was my second. So it'll probably be like the 2.2, 2.3 at worst.
Yeah.
And so it's going to be a pretty productive second. So it's a lot. Amon-Ra St. Brown, that's the price of doing business. If you want to get a player like that on your team, that's the cost for Amon-Ra.
Yep.
But ultimately for you, and it's funny because I was literally having a conversation with my buddy this morning because he's a contender and he's kind of low on running backs. And this other guy was trying to sell him Najee, but he also had Chuba on his team. I said, go and see if you can get Chuba Hubbard because Chuba Hubbard is going to be a league winner this year. Because to your point, Brandon, Jonathan Brooks is good. Okay. He's going to be very productive next season. But right now, stick with the momentum, stick with your studs. And so that trade was interesting too, because listen, I think George Pickens is a stud as well. But again, he's not an Amon-Ra. But when you get all these little pieces, one of the things I found, Brandon, when I look at, and we've been playing Dynasty for a lot of years, one of the things that really differentiates my successful teams with my less successful teams is depth. Getting through those bye weeks, getting through those injuries. I needed. So sometimes you have to sell a stud and get bunch of usable assets because you've got 2 starters you can plug into your lineup immediately. Plus, you got still some capital next year to go and continue to grow your team. So that to me was kind of a win-win type trade. And really what it came down to is the anchoring of a player like a Chuba Hubbard, who is an RB1, ladies and gentlemen, on the season. He is the RB12 on the season.
He's literally David Johnson or David Montgomery. Like he's the same player.
Yes.
He's the same guy. Like this is exactly the same guy. He's going to hold so much value in TD equity for that team because they're going to be a run heavy team forever. I really feel like they're trying to build like the Detroit Lions. They're trying to get that model. That's the type of offense they're trying to lean to. And I think it's very possible with some of the talent they got going up there. So like I said, Chuba, but George Pickens, I think he's boom or bust, but he's a great in that position. I had him as a wide receiver 3. And then Chuba was such a solid flex play for me. And I'm going against some monster teams. So I needed another big horse in the flex. And that was a deep lead. That's, that's 3 flex plays, super flex, 3 wide receivers. So that the leagues that we are in, depth ends up winning out in the end.
It's maniacal, baby, but that's why we're here. We are maniacal SOBs. This is true. So speaking of a maniacal game that if you asked me like 4 or 5 weeks ago, if I would have had any interest in watching this game, I would have just honestly vomited in my mouth a little bit. But that is Denver versus Cleveland. But both sneaky good teams.
How about that one trade I had for Bo Nix? How's that Bo Nix trade looking now?
What was Bo Nix trade? What'd you do? What was it
I
for?
traded Lamar. It was that Lamar trade.
And I roasted you for it.
And I got Bo, I got Brian Thomas Jr. and a second, and it was for Lamar and Swifty. And I am so happy I did that trade. And because I think Brian Thomas Jr. is the truth. I think he is going to be a superstar. And honestly, what a lead into another flex play this week is Brian Thomas Jr. I think Brian Thomas Jr. gets after it this week. He had that chest injury. I don't know. It was like 4 weeks ago, when he had that contusion on his chest and he was having a hard time. And you can tell because he wasn't wanting to get in the mix a little bit in traffic. You could tell he was a little hesitant getting in there, but coming off the bye with Trevor Lawrence hopefully being back, even if he's going to play. Okay, even if Trevor Lawrence doesn't make through the game, Mac Jones can put up some ball, throw the ball up to Brian Thomas Jr. plenty. Brian Thomas Jr. is going to absolutely have a great game with this game script with Houston. Houston's going to go in there. I got 2 flex plays from the same exact game. Brian Thomas Jr. and Tank Dell. I think both of those guys are in positions to succeed this week for a couple different reasons. One reason for Tank Dell is that Jaguars are top 3 team in man coverage. Tank Dell is top 15 against man in fantasy points per dropback. He is going to be very efficient against man coverage. He will get open. And I have a feeling he's going to have a 35 to 40-yard tud from deep on a big dagger route from the slot. So I think that's in the cards for him. The Jacksonville, I had the numbers. Jacksonville is better against wide receiver ones, but is actually atrocious against the wide receiver twos. So wide receiver twos have a better successful rate against the Jacksonville secondary than the wide receiver one. Nico still is going to smash because this is the Jags and he's fucking Nico Collins. So it's just what it is. But I do feel Tank Dell is going to have himself a big bomb touchdown this week. And same with Brian Thomas. He's going to be working out of the slot this week, and he's going to absolutely go ham off of that. And he's been 40% of the time in the slot. And I love when they move him in that position because that's when they try and get him on 15, 20, 25-yard routes down the field and get him on the run. That's what, and I like him. They like him out of the slot in the red zone as well.
It's a different team when Nico Collins is in. Obviously,
Yes,
for Tank Dell fantasy managers that have him on their team, like when Tank's the guy, like it's great, obviously, because he gets the target share. But the team in general, the Houston Texans in general, like they are a different team. It's like the Cincinnati Bengals when T. Higgins is healthy. They're just a different team when you've got that alpha.
Totally.
I mean, obviously, Cleveland or Cincinnati is a little bit different because they got a couple levels on that team. But yeah, man, I think Tank Dell was a de facto start, even in if you're starting only two wide receivers in PPR. He moved back to a flex consideration every single week. Yeah. So I think that will allow it this
He's
week.
right on that edge, man. He's like wide receiver 3 flex area. I think you can have confidence in him this week to get 15 points for you.
Yeah, no, that's good. And so I was, before we pivoted to this game, the reason I wanted to bring him up the Denver-Cleveland game is because a few players that you like was Devon Vele as well as Jerry Jeudy. Like those are two players that a few weeks ago, again, we would have just been like, what the hell are you talking about? But your guy Bonix, he has been distributing the ball quite well. And Jameis Winston, man, like he's just a fun guy to cheer for. And isn't it such a different fucking vibe in Cleveland right now? It felt like the weight was on their shoulders of the entire NFL with all the baggage with Deshaun Watson. But he out, he gone, he's forgotten, he's done. They got to cut him. They got to get him off the team. There's nothing good about having Deshaun Watson on your team at this point. Whereas Jameis Winston is the polar opposite. He's a rah-rah guy. He cheers for his teammates. He makes the players on his team fantasy relevant, and he actually gives the Cleveland Browns a chance. And here's the thing, Nick Chubb, he still ain't Nick Chubb, right? But he can do.
He's getting stronger.
Yeah, he's getting stronger every single week. Last week was the crazy snow game against Pittsburgh. He got in the end zone, which was great. But yeah, this one can be a fun one. But what do you like about Vele? I mean, I'm still a little bit like skittish about starting a player like this. But what do you like?
What I like about Vele is that Reynolds is out for the season. He's gone. So he's got this wide receiver 2 position is wide open on that team next to Sutton. If you listened, I've been listening to some of the pressers out here with Sean Payton about the offense, and he likened Devon Vele to Marcus Colston guys. Like he loves Vele and his size, and with it being with the Browns being predominantly man coverage and this being a home game, I think the Broncos are really going to be comfortable and they're going to get deep in their bag to get some points on the board. And I just got Peyton has been talking about Vele quite a bit the last few weeks, and I just feel a TD brewing, and he's at like plus 220 for a TD this week, and I think he's going to get at least 6 targets this week in this kind of pace because, like you said, with Jameis Winston, the Browns are going to put up points, and it's going to be mainly through Jerry Jeudy. Revenge game narrative, kind of fun, but Patrick Surtain is a motherfucker. So Jeudy has his work cut out for him, but he's going to get volume. Tillman is hurt though, so that he did not practice. That's another reason I boosted Jeudy because he's going to get all big Njoku and Jeudy should get more work their way. So volume will overcome with Jerry Jeudy. And I think Jerry Judy's a petty guy, so I think Jameis Winston is going to do everything possible to get him as many big plays in Denver as possible. And like you said, with Bo Nix balling right now, this game is going to have a real possibility to shoot out. And do you have the game number on the over?
So you've got implied team totals here. You've got Denver's at 23 and Cleveland's at 18. So Vegas as a whole is like 41, 42 points.
That's going way over.
Yeah.
That's going way over. That's an easy smash over for me. Sutton is going to dominate in that game. Sutton is what a great steal of a player people could have scooped up in Dynasty just like 3 weeks ago if they had the foresight with Sutton. Bo Nix, man, every week he's just making great plays that are just big time arm throws. We talked about it. I had him ranked as I was drafting him at my 9th overall best prospect in drafts. So I was drafting him. I had drafts where I was drafting him before Brian Thomas Jr. So that's a toss up there. So that's
the right play though. In hindsight, I think I had him baked in at 2.2 in my rookie rankings. So I was below.
Yeah,
I was right basically at consensus. Yeah.
I had Bo Nix high. I knew with him having, 50 games in college or something. He has ridiculous experience.
He had the most games in college of any player.
Exactly.
Brendan, let's quickly get to a question here because Nick's been waiting in the chat for a little while here. So we got a 0.5 PPR. Okay. We need to pick one wide receiver and one flex. So you got Ladd McConkey, who's been balling out recently. Calvin Ridley, who did log a full practice yesterday. So he is healthy. We got Brian Thomas Jr., who's, of course, coming off the bye week. And then here's an interesting one. It's Braylon Allen. Brees Hall is out. So Brees Hall, the Jets, also coming off the bye this week. Brees Hall did have a limited practice yesterday. Now, what's challenging, obviously, is Friday. We're not going to get the full practice reports until a little bit later today to determine if we think Brees is going to be in or out. Obviously, man, this is tough. So to me, of the choice here, I think I have a hard time sitting Ridley.
Mm-hmm.
But because it's a 0.5 PPR, I'm less inclined to play Ladd McConkey. I'm tempted to say Ridley and BTJ here. But if Brees Hall doesn't play, would you consider sitting either of those guys?
No, I think you got it right. McConkey is slightly less valuable with the 0.5, but he has a real chance to score. You got it. Hey, out of this grouping, you should have some real good success here. Braylon Allen, man, if he is ready to roll, if he's gonna get 25 touches, as a starter, I'm gonna play him over all those guys. He is the start of the grouping, and then Brian Thomas Jr. would be the next one. I think Brian Thomas Jr. is going to smash in this game script. He has to, and coming off the bye, he's going to be healthy. I like him a lot this week.
Okay, so the order here is it's Ridley and BTJ, but if Braylon Allen plays and Brees Hall is out, then you're sitting Ridley. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
All right. This is an interesting one. We playing Anthony Richardson or Russell Wilson this week?
Anthony Richardson all fucking day.
Yeah, you got to play that. And then Chubb or Hunt, to me, it's definitely Chubb. I'm sitting Hunt today. Pacheco is in, right? 100%.
Pacheco's in. The Kareem Hunt show is officially over. You can't what a gift he was to many teams. I spent high fab on this guy, and he is going to be the reason I make some playoffs because he just came in as a late play and was able to produce every single week. But with Pacheco coming, they're going to be splitting up that production. So the anytime touchdown that he was virtually nonstop getting for the last 8 weeks, that's all good. That's kind of going to be a toss up now. So unfortunately it's going to be Chubb.
How do we feel? So obviously Indy's playing my beloved Patriots. Patriots have been they've taken their foot off the gas a little bit, right? They were playing spoiler or attempting to play spoiler for the last few weeks, but it just looks like that, the air's out of the balloon. So I think I agree with you. We got to go Richardson. I have to say, though, Russell Wilson is making that Pittsburgh Steelers offense hum, right? Like, he looks
better.
good. It's definitely better. It's not perfect, but it's definitely better. Yeah, I think you said it all. So let's move on, brother.
Anthony Richardson is going to run a touchdown in this week. Jonathan Taylor will get a rushing touchdown as well. If Jonathan Taylor does not get a rushing touchdown, I could see A-Rich getting 2 on the ground this week. I think he's going to absolutely bully this Patriots defense, and they are going to put a big production. Adonai Mitchell, sleeper candidate of the week. No
Okay.
Josh Downs this week. No Josh Downs this week. No Josh Downs this week. That is their number 1 wide receiver. Pittman still, he should be on IR. This guy has been playing, and he looks like shit playing through a back, and he needs to stop it. You can see him, like, honestly, they don't need him to play. Alec Pierce, Adonai Mitchell are dogs. Adonai Mitchell can separate with the best of them. And I think with Christian Gonzalez being on Adonai Mitchell, I think there is going to be plays to be made, because I think Mitchell is going to route him up on a couple plays, and if it's timed up right, long touchdowns are possible.
If it's Gonzalez versus Adonai, I'm
Yes.
choosing Gonzalez. I hate to say it.
I'm
choosing Gonzalez. Of those two.
That's fine. On the majority, all I'm talking about, all I need is one or two plays.
Just want one.
That's it.
That's going to be interesting, man. And that might be one, like a plug your nose, don't watch the game type game, though.
If you like
Roddy.
a sleeper, like in FanDuel, if you're playing whatever, like that's a fun one to stack, because he came so close to getting his first touchdown earlier this year. I think it was it last week where he fell on like the 2. It was a big gainer. A couple weeks ago. But Alec Pierce is also beat up a little bit, so Adonai is going to get routes. He's going to get opportunity this week.
Yeah, but let's be clear. Anthony Richardson, he's going to get his points on the ground. So, like, that's how
deep down the field.
It's going to be deep balls and on using his legs. So we were talking about the Jacksonville game, and one of the players you kind of had as like one of these deeper flex plays was Tank Bigsby. This one's a little bit more. Tank is slowly starting to take over that backfield versus Travis Etienne. But let me just say, again, I had a lot of Rashad.
I didn't have Bigsby. I Tank Dell.
Oh, you said Tank. Okay, I thought you had Bigsby. Okay.
Tank Dell, wrong Tank. I had Tank Dell.
Okay.
Okay,
let's not talk about Bigsby then.
Hell no. I'm not talking about Bigsby. Don't put me in that position.
Yeah, because I was going to – okay, sorry about that, Brandon. I saw Tank, and I thought you were talking about Bigsby. Because I was going to say, if you've got Travis Etienne on your team as well, I'm benching both those guys. Like, there are countless players I'm more comfortable playing ahead of both those guys, because they've just been lackluster, and there's going to be a massive shakeup next year.
Bet Mixon for 2 touchdowns. Bet Mixon for 2 touchdowns this week. This has a high probability of that this week.
Love it. Okay, so just another game that I want to just touch on is we didn't really have any show notes on it, but the Atlanta Falcons versus the Chargers. I think this is going to be an interesting game, right?
Yes.
Really what it comes down to is Kirk Cousins has not looked great. The Falcons haven't looked great. They've kind of lost some games they should have won. But if you look at just the overall implied team totals, Vegas has this one at a 47.5 over-under. And it's pretty much a coin flip. You got Atlanta at 23. You got the Chargers at 24. So to me, this is a game where there's going to be a lot of points scored. Obviously, you're playing your studs. But these fringe-type players, like Darnell Mooney is one of the players you mentioned. I like Darnell Mooney a lot. He has career resurgence, man. Like, he's at this point probably a wide receiver 3. So if you're starting 3 wide receivers and it's in your leagues, I'm locking in Calvin Ridley now.
But the funny thing is, you look at Darnell Mooney's projections, it doesn't reflect that on a game-to-game basis. So you're literally looking at him in dynasty rosters. You're like, man, he has the same projection as many other players that. Yeah. And then you're just like, and then at the end of the week, he's wide receiver 8. and you're like, what the
Yes.
you're like, what the hell happened? And
Yeah.
this is kind of like one of those weeks that it could happen. London is still having some issues with that hit pointer. Still, you could tell that those hit pointers, those are heavily bruising. Those take a few weeks. So with him still being somewhat limited in practice, Darnell Mooney has a real chance to splash here and have a volume spike week.
The thing I hate about the Drake London injury is that it was a midweek addition to the injury report, right? That worries the hell out of me.
Well, it happened against the Cowboys when he scored the touchdown.
Yeah, a couple weeks ago.
And a couple of weeks ago, and he's just been, I think he's been grinding through it, buddy, and it's been hurting. And I think it's been more of an issue than they want to talk about.
So I had an interesting conversation with Jen, who was actually in the chat a little bit earlier, about starting Jordan Addison or Drake London. And so I like Addison this week. Obviously, like Addison, listen, if you're chasing the points last week, he was the wide receiver one last week. Don't chase the points. I like the matchup with Addison this week, but there's a start-sit consideration. Do you play Jordan Addison or do you play Drake London? That one's super close to for me because I worry that if London, because he just like this guy just lays out, right? That's what caused the injury. That could also exasperate an injury.
Yep.
Where do you lean on that start-sit decision? That one's tough for me.
I think
it's tough to sit Drake, right? It's tough to sit Drake if he plays.
Hard. Because the Chargers give up plays deep and chunk plays. Yeah. That's the main reason why. And I'm still staying with London. He's my guy. You know that. He's my guy. I'm gonna always keep him in there. He was my one of my flag plants of the year this year. He's been phenomenal this year for me. I just feel like he still has TD upside, man, because when they shift that kid into the slot and they match him up on linebackers, it's over in the red zone. He scores. And so I like him a lot. But Addison, yeah, that's tough. That's a tough one. Yeah, I don't think you can go wrong, but I'm going London. I think
of those two, assuming Drake London plays, it probably suggests he's healthy enough to play, obviously, if he's going to play. But if you're more conservative and you want just a healthy player that is probably going to make it through a game, I would lean like Jordan Addison in that type of situation. So, and then on the other side of the ball, we talked about Ladd McConkey earlier in the start-sit decision. I think generally you're probably starting Ladd just because he's studying out, right? But
he is so good, dude.
Are you so good? Do we have any appetite whatsoever, even like the deepest of leagues, of starting Stone Hands, Brick Hands, Quentin Johnson? Like, are we out this week? Like,
he lost me some money last week. He should have scored. I'm pretty pissed at him.
He saved me a league.
I actually think he has a bounce back week this week. I think he does okay this week.
Don't you have to catch the ball to have a bounce back?
Yes, I know. I think he will. I think the lights. This is not a primetime game. Quentin Johnston's strength under those lights, man. Ladd McConkey was like, give me all of it. Give me that spotlight. Yeah. You could see, like, when Ladd snatches it out of the air, it is beautiful. Like, he is powerful when he catches the football. Like, it's over when he makes it. And you are all over him pre-draft, and we had him pretty high across the board across our little community. So,
one of the reasons Bo Nix was lower on my draft board was because I had Ladd up above. Right, naturally, when you're hiring guys, you have to push guys down the board. And so,
correct.
I mean, in hindsight, again, if you're in a super flex, you probably want the Bo Nix action there just because of the replacement value. But if you chose Ladd over Bo, you're
not mad. You're not mad.
Yeah. All right. So we got Den S coming in the house here. So it's a full PPR. Pick one of these for your flex. Nick Chubb or T. Higgins? I think
T. Higgins.
Okay. I also start Jamar Chase. Yeah. So Den, I'm in a league where I have both Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. I'm not sitting T. Higgins for nothing. Like, I sat DJ Moore this week, which we'll see if that ends up being the right choice for T. Higgins. Right? It's tough though, because T. Higgins is balling the hell out. Cincinnati this week, man, like going up against Pittsburgh.
The wide receiver 2 is going to be the one that explodes, I think. So it's going to be T. Higgins week, I think.
Yeah. But honestly, in general, at this point, Nick Chubb, like, especially in a full PPR, Chubb doesn't catch passes. So I think that one's pretty straightforward. And yeah, I don't care. Listen, I want to score the most points. Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, consolidated target share. Chase Brown, love him this season. If you got him late, like probably if you were using our draft kits, you probably did. You're pretty happy there. But T's healthy. T's in my lineup almost no matter what.
Yep, I agree with you. T was my number one trade target for winning rosters to go get. Matt and I did that with in our big dollar league. That was a hell of a get. We only had to pay a 26 first for T Higgins. Like, come on, man. That's like 75%. That's dirt cheap. Yeah, super excited about that one. And T Higgins has such ridiculous value moving forward after he signs with somebody else. Sounds like he could be a major target for the Patriots and Drake May. So T Higgins and Drake May might be something next year in 2025. So I like that fit a lot.
I've heard so many rumblings about that happening that I know it just can't be true. It just won't happen.
Nope, I think it's going to happen. I think that's happening.
Yeah,
I think it's going to happen. You got yourself a stud, Drake May, man. Wow, Drake May. That guy is so good. Also, another savvy dynasty move. Go get JJ McCarthy right now. Go buy him right now if you want to go invest into somebody at the bottom. Those teams that have JJ McCarthy, if they're in anything with playoff contenders, go get them. Go try and pry them off of a roster.
Love it. Okay, are you ready to earn some money today, sure, Brandon, with this question? Who are we sitting? Zay Flowers, Khalil Shakir, or Tank Dell? This one's tough, right?
Well, I just saw that Dalton Kincaid is out for Sunday. So that bumps Shakir's slot route. He's going to be dominating. So, holy shit, that's a tough one.
It's tough, right?
I'm probably it's going to have to be Dell, right?
I think you got to sit Dell. I'm looking here. Like Baltimore's got a 27-point implied team total. Zay Flowers, oh my God. Yeah, on the season, 25% target share. Last week was 36%.
I love
15 Dell. Points projected. I think it's got to be Dell. I think
it's got to be Dell. Yeah, it's got to be Dell.
This one's tough. Okay, so then let's put on our keeper/dynasty hats for a minute here, Brandon. This is from Derek. Hey guys, 3 keepers, but they all can't be the same position. Which guy makes the team? Which guy doesn't make the team next year? So CeeDee Lamb for a 3rd round tag. I'm keeping CeeDee no matter what. Garrett Wilson for a 16th round tag, or BTJ for a 17th round tag. I think of those 3.
Garrett Wilson's gone.
I think you think so. Garrett's basically going for the same price as BTJ. So you're more bullish on BTJ next season than 100%. Garrett Wilson. Why? Let's talk through it.
Why? I think his profile is better. I think it's BTJ has proven when he's healthy, it doesn't matter. He was fighting for snap share so early, constantly this year, and he still was overcoming that. I think his snap share goes way up next year, and so will his production. We've seen Garrett Wilson at the top of his volume product. He's getting looks. Getting looks. And after this year, I don't know who's going to be the quarterback. I don't think A-Rod's going to be back next year. I would rather have the Trevor Lawrence to BTJ connection versus, unless it's Shadur Sanders, which I don't think it's going to be Shadur Sanders to Wilson. And I think Adams is on that roster as well, no matter what next year. So Garrett Wilson's got that to contend with as well. So BTJ all day for me.
I'm going to split the baby here, and we're not going to help you at all, Derek. This is like CeeDee's a lock and load. You cannot trade CeeDee for a 3rd round tag. Like, he's going to be a 1st rounder next year. It doesn't matter who the quarterback is; he's going to produce for you, right? So that's locked and loaded. I'm still going with Garrett Wilson simply because I feel like he's an overall well-rounded receiver. He can do everything, whereas BTJ is more of a specialized type receiver. It's super
so true.
No?
Oh,
okay.
BTJ is a superstar, brother.
I know he is.
Go buy BTJ. I have BTJ ahead of Marvin Harrison Jr. I have him right behind Malik Neighbors. I have BTJ ahead of Garrett Wilson in dynasty ranks. I am so bullish. Okay. I'm sorry.
Okay,
I'm having a hard time.
I can't. I can't, unfortunately. So I'm going Garrett Wilson here. He's going BTJ. Honestly, Derek, you have two studs. So it's a tough
You
decision.
can't go wrong, brother.
You can't go wrong with either of those guys. Yeah, they're both going to be
Congratulations on the roster.
Yeah, no kidding. Hey, okay, so we got Jose in the chat here. Steelers defense or the Commanders defense? Commanders are going up against Tennessee. Steelers are going up against Cincinnati. You got to go Commanders here. You have to.
Yeah,
this one's tough because obviously the Steelers.
Give you a pick six. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean the Steelers are a better overall defense. I haven't checked in a little while, but they were like the third defense in scoring as of a few weeks ago. And I was riding. Like typically, I like to stream my defenses, but I was riding them for a little while before I made a trade. That being said, this particular week, I'm rocking with the Commanders going up against Tennessee. There's just way too.
That makes sense to me.
Yeah, cool. All right, brother. So we are rounding out 50 minutes on the show. This is typically when we wrap it up. Any last minute words of advice for the people for this week? Or I mean, listen, we only got 2 weeks left, so. As we enter the playoff season, any words?
Dude, just win, baby. That's all that matters. Is just win out your weeks. Congratulations to people that make the playoffs. You probably won't see me again till probably Christmas, something like that. But yeah, just congrats on everybody making the playoffs. I know if you followed us, you definitely made some playoffs. We gave you so many good plays like Khalil Shakir, Drake London's. We gave you Tyrone Tracy's. We gave you, just constant.
Listen,
monsters.
We also had the studs of studs. Like we had Saquon ranked above consensus, which doesn't sound like a lot, but when we've got them ranked 4 or 5 spots,
Devon Achane
ahead. Devon Achane, you and I had this debate the entire offseason, Devon Achane or Saquon Barkley. Turns out both were the right answer. We basically had to rank back to back, so we were right there. So the only thing I'd suggest is this week is Thanksgiving week, so all the teams are playing. There are no bye weeks this week, okay?
Yeah.
Next week, though, there are some important teams on bye, okay? I'm just going to list them off. So be prepared. We ain't in the playoffs yet. Be prepared. So next week, you got Indianapolis, New England, Denver, Washington, Baltimore, and Houston. We think last week was by apocalypse. Week 14 is going to be tough. So be prepared. Click that little next button and figure out, do you need to go and get some guys off the waiver wire this week, and can you stash them? That's what's going to get you those little nuanced wins.
That's what I do too, man. I've been
clip and listen. Hey, brother, we were even talking a little about K-Dot, and we gave
you shout out.
You're gonna have to go out. You're gonna have to go back and watch it. You're gonna have to go back and watch it. Or hey, listen, we don't really talk about the podcast feed very often, Brandon. But if you like DFS, if you like sports betting, if you like multiple sports, if you like season-long fantasy football, just go to the DFS Army podcast feed. Make sure you follow it. We're on all the major things. We got Apple Podcasts. You got Spotify. If you can get podcasts, you can get the DFS Army podcast. Go check it out and listen back. Oh, yeah. Oh, you will, Clipboard Jesus. I know you will, because you're a degenerate, and that's why we love you, brother. So that's it, Brandon. Good luck, ladies and gentlemen. Listen, it's been a tough season. Every single season is tough. That's why we're here every single week talking about some of these skankier plays. That's what we do. We like to get our hands dirty. We like to go into the trenches, but we also like to win fantasy football championships. So if you're new to the show, again, we are a different channel. So make sure you hit that subscribe button so that you know when we go live.
Please.
Typically Saturday morning. Our guy Brandon is on special because he has commitments on Saturday. So typically it's myself and Flex Mike. We've been having a few guests on recently. So thank you so much for tuning in, for watching the whole program. We're here to get you into the playoffs. And then you know what, Brandon? We're here to win you a championship. So
championships. Make moves.
Good luck. Make moves, baby. So good luck in week 13.
Make moves on your enemies. That's what you do.
That's right, brother. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you. We are the DFS Army Fantasy Football Show.
Big time, knowing that.